So it's not about actually getting information. They don't want to...
No, these are phone numbers they put on flyers. You call, and it just rings and rings.
So it's all about conditioning then?
Yeah, they're just out there scaring everybody, knowing there's not any real terror that they don't promote.
So the biggest thing we're looking at, well, here's one thing I wanted to tell you about. I'm not sure if you knew, but there was a Special Forces colonel who was tasked with giving training at Fort Stewart, Georgia. And the training he was ordered to design was so offensive to him that he resigned his commission and left the Army.
No, I didn't know. Tell us about it.
Well, this is where you had 1st Infantry Division, 1st Combat Brigade of the 3rd ID. That's the Northcom attached unit is stationed at Fort Stewart, Georgia.
That's Brigade Homeland.
That's right. So he was told to go there and conduct training, and it was so offensive to him. We don't know what he was told to do because we haven't been able to get a hold of him yet, but it's been confirmed by 2 former SF that this is an accurate story, that he found it so objectionable what they told him to go train the troops to do that he resigned his commission and left the Army.
Well, let me tell you separately, I've confirmed what they're training the Guard and regular Army liaisons attached. I've confirmed they're training to set up checkpoints, run IDs, license plate reading cameras are already going in, and they just pull you out and put you in vans, trucks, or buses. I mean, they're actually getting ready for real red and blue list.
Well, that's why from the very beginning, 2 years ago, on our list of orders we will not obey are orders to round up the American people or to blockade cities or to go into a state with force unless they've been invited by the state legislature. And so we want the current serving to understand that there have to be some serious hard lines. Martial law is totally unconstitutional, illegitimate, nowhere in the Constitution, and it has no basis, no moral force, no legal force. They should resist it.
It's an illegal order.
Absolutely. The most illegal order that can possibly be. And this is the problem, is they've tried to they are grafting the foreign laws of war onto our domestic laws. They're saying they can do the same thing here that they've done overseas to people in conquered Iraq or conquered Afghanistan. Their whole logic, Obama's now claiming the authority and the power to assassinate American citizens that he thinks are enemy combatants, and he says he has the power to do this off a secret list that cannot be reviewed by the courts.
That is pure treason.
Well, absolutely is. It's making war on the American people. So that's how I define treason.
That is the purest form.
So what they're doing...
He is Tyrannus, but remember, he's just the figurehead. But through that office, he's preparing to try to deploy what Julius Caesar did.
Here's the problem. People say, well, it's only happened to 1 or 2 people. But that's the problem, is that you don't wait for the full effect. You don't wait for the pretext to happen, the next terrorist attack, the next 9/11. You stop you stand on the principle. You oppose the principle. And the principle is he can treat us like occupied Germany or Japan. He can treat us like a foreign enemy and do here at home what is done abroad to a foreign enemy. That's the claim. So we must resist that, declare it for what it is, illegitimate, void from inception, has no force and authority. And any order given like that should be refused by the standing military.
Well, that's another issue. TSA that won't stick their hands down people's pants, who worry about the radiation, they're being fired. So government is trying to sift through and create the cadres that will do whatever they're told.
And you should opt out every time. I always do. And unfortunately, you shouldn't have to be a lawyer to get respect. But last time I went through a checkpoint, I said, hey, just don't put your hands on my pants. The guy said, I can't guarantee that. I said, well, I'm a lawyer. I guess we'll dance afterwards. And he was like, whoa. And he went and got a supervisor, and his supervisor handling with kid gloves. But you shouldn't have to be an attorney to get respect and to have your privacy and your rights respected. It's a travesty.
Yeah, that's what the few times I've had the issue come up, I just go, look, I'm a radio talk show host. Usually know who I am anyways, and are asking for signature, what do you call it, autographs. A lot of them aren't bad people, but they're trying to get rid of those and trying to hire the bad ones. Because they can set that precedent to line us up, to search us. I mean, this is classic what's happening.
And they don't go to buses, and this is what we oppose, categorically.
They're already doing it.
Yeah, checkpoints are absolutely unconstitutional. That's like right out of Nazi Germany. So I don't think there's any legitimacy at all. And I don't care what the courts say. It's not American. It's un-American.
Plus, they're discredited because they just canceled the virtual fence. They never really built any of the physical fence. I mean, the southern border is wide open in a country collapsing into bedlam, and they're not worried about that. They're running random checkpoints on highways around the country.
100 miles inland, yeah.
Well, not even that. They're now all over the country. We've got the articles coming in. TSA, National Guard. They have families drive under X-ray machines. They're doing it now, Stewart. I mean, I see the reports every week. They're just pouring in.
Yeah, they're conditioning us for more of this stuff. So, we have to resist. And if you can get your sheriff to help you, that's why the sheriff first bill in Montana is important. Any bills that to back the sheriff up with the authority of the law of the state is good.
Absolutely. We're on the march. The empire is on the run. We will rebuild the republic. We'll be right back with Stewart Rhodes and Webster Tarpley. For 2 more segments, this 5 minute, the next, we've got Stewart Rhodes, founder of Oathkeepers. And we've also got a fellow in here, John Shirley, who's a sergeant currently in the Houston PD, one of the biggest in the country. He has to give the proviso that he speaks privately as a citizen here, but he's with us, getting into the subject of the federalization of police.
Well, thanks for having me, Alex. Unfortunately, I have to say that I'm speaking for me and for Oathkeepers and state chapter president of Oathkeepers. But I'm concerned the federal government has turned our police forces into an arm of the federal government just de facto by the fact that a lot of our training is standardized already to this day. So all police departments are basically trained the same. There's so many...
they're trying to get rid of your codes, your local codes.
Exactly. And not just that, but they're also... the training is all standardized, and the money that comes from federal government to run programs for the police departments with all the strings attached to it.
And the feds are writing the codes now.
Absolutely. And, a police chief will not cross the federal government because to do so means the money's yanked away or the money has to be paid back. So they basically run the police departments as it is today.
Are the police officers starting to wake up?
Yes, I believe they are. They're quiet about it, but there's no question that when stuff comes down, the officers question the city or the department initially all the time. They're going to ask questions.
Do you see them trying? Well, instead of me asking questions, what do you think is most important for folks to know about the federalization?
They need to get their local law enforcement off the federal teat and have them stop taking the federal money and start taking back over their law enforcement to where they're not seen as police officers or law enforcement officers, but their officers are seen as peace officers who are actively in the community, working for the community, and of course having fidelity to the Constitution.
I've also seen a lot of instances where it seems like departments, the bad departments, try to protect people that act outrageously, and then that demonizes all the good officers that are out there.
That's definitely a concern. I mean, we had in Houston the beating video that just came out in the public several days ago, and it pains me to think how that taints the whole police department of over 5,000 people by the misactions of 8 or 9. But I will say, at least in Houston, they are prosecuting them. So hopefully
yeah, that's the good news. A lot of places they don't.
Right.
And then that freaks everybody out. But why did you get involved in Oathkeepers?
I stumbled upon the Oathkeepers website before they even rolled out the program officially, and I don't remember how I got onto it, but I read the 10 orders we will not do, and it was like a light bulb went off in my head. It's like, my God, this is exactly what we need. We need police that understand the seriousness of the oath they take.
Well, look at every other country. It's always the military and police that are used to bring in tyranny. Liberty is a very rare thing. I mean, this is a disease that almost every country catches.
That's right. We should realize the rarity of it. And that's why people should not try to look for silver bullets like military coups. They should get back to what the founders gave us. The lessons of history are written right in our Constitution and our Declaration of Independence. We've got to stick to that plan.
Well, I mean, if we do go into a full depression and people are running around starving, if 90% of people were self-sufficient in the Great Depression, and they estimate in that 10 years close to 7 million starved to death, people were very moral back then on average. Today, what we saw on, Black Friday with people rioting just for a cheap Xbox, it's going to be scary, and it's designed to make us beg for the martial law because it'll actually be needed if we don't have local control.
That's why we must preempt it by getting all our veterans, including police veterans, in fact, to get up, like I said, get off the couch and go and strengthen their communities and get ready. And we should be starting police auxiliaries and reserves. As we have state economies collapse and local economies collapse, they can't afford officers. So there'll be like 2 or 3 John Shirleys, and then this should be backed up by a police auxiliary of volunteer citizens to be there to help them keep order when there's rioting.
That's under local control.
Exactly.
Not the evil clone of that the feds are trying to build right now.
Not federalized police officers from someplace else being brought in, as happened in Katrina.
Yeah, stay there. Back in 1 minute. Okay, we've only got 5 amazing minutes left with both these gentlemen. John Shirley, of course, the state chapter head of Oathkeepers, and the founder, Stewart Rhodes, here with us. We were talking during that 1 minute break about something so important. What I'm saying is the feds are creating a spy network through InfraGard of dentists, of doctors, of quote, professionals to spy on people. They've approached my dad. They've approached other dentists he knows. I mean, this is a massive program. They know this vacuum's coming, so they're trying to create a federally, locally controlled militia. We need the true local. I mean, guys, talk about that.
Right, they're trying to co-opt every infrastructure in the state and local government, the police. We've seen the working group for countering violent extremism that Southern Poverty Law Center is now sitting on in DHS. Their recommendations is to train and reach into mental health workers, family service workers, teachers, enlisting all of them.
Cable repair guys.
Yeah, everybody to spy on and to combat violent extremism.
Firemen.
Yeah, absolutely everyone. That's why we reach out to all of those institutions as well. We reach out to police and fire because we understand that they are going to be, they're being told right now, if you go into a home and you see something suspicious, let us know about it. So taking fire...
And they're not even really saying piles of cocaine. It's if you go in there and they got reloading equipment, we're seeing realtors calling police on people when they see reloading or guns.
Right, they're causing hysteria, and because of the ignorance of people about what is legal and not legal in the United States, they're criminalizing things that aren't yet criminal, but they're doing it inside the heads of people and getting them to think that you're a bad guy if you have guns. And so like John was saying earlier, the nationalization of the police and the federalization of the police is really, very much the same thing that happened in Germany under the Nazis. They nationalized the police, and they co-opted the independence of the local provinces, and we're seeing that right now. You've got sheriffs who are, rolling around in these, $100,000 command vehicles that the DHS gives them. Your sheriff cannot be independent and be dependent at the same time.
And the feds are moving in many states to get rid of sheriffs altogether.
Right, well, they want the sheriff to be an appointed official.
Yeah, and that's getting rid of them. I mean, that's
right. Yeah, it's gutting what the sheriff does and what the sheriff is.
Well, that's an attack on the Constitution right there. That's in all the state constitutions, the sheriff.
Well, so we have to fight back at the local level, and we're now part of the 10th Amendment Center Nullify Now tour, going around the country and talking about state sovereignty and standing up, and the doctrine of interposition, of the responsibility and duty of the state to interpose itself between the federal government and the citizenry when the feds cross the lines, the boundaries.
And what's great is you're getting not exhausted, but running all over the country yourself. You're finding other great leaders like John Shirley and others who can be force multipliers to speak to even more groups, and folks can find out how to get you guys or other great state chapter leaders to come speak on the Oathkeepers website.
That's right, oathkeepers.org. They can go there, and we have a free forum here for Texas here as well, and all the other states.
So they can go there and find all the local chapters.
Absolutely.
And people can just get information from the site, or they can become full-fledged members if they're in the military or police. And
they can be also associate members if there's an average citizen who wants to support our mission. But you don't have to join if you don't want to. And I understand fully why some police officers and active duty military would not want to. I understand that we're concerned about being purged out of their job. So we don't ever pressure them.
But you come to a point where, that's why I admire John Shirley here, active sergeant in Houston. There comes a point where silence isn't golden, it's yellow. And I understand some folks are really highly classified things, other things can't. But it's time to just be counted, stand up and say, I'm not afraid anymore. Some people are like, oh, Alex, you better watch it. They'll get you. Yeah, I know. They'll get me and my family if I don't have courage. There comes a time you got to stand up and say, look, that's it. They're already coming down on us. That's why I admire both of you.
Well, frankly, to the veterans, I say, you've got no reason not to stand up. Current serving, I can see that. It's kind of nice to have, the icebergs theory of the visible tip like him, but there's also the guys you don't know are there. And that makes the elites worry and stay awake at night.
And they know we've got truth and justice on our side. And people hunger for that. I mean, we're good. People can sense it. They know it. We're historically right. They can see all the signs that we've been right. And it's just make a choice, folks. Decide where you're going to be in history. I mean, don't wait till later, lying in your beds, wishing many years from now, as Braveheart said, that you'd done the right thing.
Well, as Thomas Paine said, if there is going to be trouble, let it come in my day so that my child will have peace. And that's how I feel about it. I'm going to die anyway. So let's stand up right now. And if we all stand up together, we can't be stopped.
No, we can't be stopped. We got the good guys. They got the bad guys. The bad guys are a bunch of scum, folks. We can defeat these people. Gentlemen, great having you in here with us. Amazing. Webster Tarpley on Egypt. Straight ahead. Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.